everybody, Angela here. I'm an empowerment coach for women, so happy for you to join me today. Today we are going to be talking about 6 steps to claiming power in your life. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk through empowerment. How are we granting ourselves power? How are we increasing our confidence? How are we improving our lives, becoming more confident, and claiming our rights, right? That's what empowerment means. So I want to share a story with a client to illustrate this. And if you are here watching live, go ahead and tell me in the comments. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and tell me the replay, hashtag replay in the comments as well. So glad to have you here. So basically what I wanted to share is a story of one of my clients. And, you know, I work with women who are amazing. They're intelligent, they're smart, they're hardworking, they're go-getters, and they have a goal and a dream, right, that they're trying to accomplish. So I'm working with one of these women, and she came to me, and really the concerns that she was having is that, you know, she's having these difficult relationships with men. And, you know, there was a lot of reasons for that, and she was really struggling with believing in herself, believing in her worth, and that she was the prize, that she was the priority there. She didn't really believe, right, in her worth and all of those things. She had given the power to this other person. And this was the relationship she came to me talking about. She gave all of the power to this other person, and it left her feeling really weak and angry and frustrated because she was always having to kind of go off of what this other person was dictating to her. And sometimes, again, the women that I work with are strong, they're amazing, they're so smart and talented. And I want to just bring attention to, you know, that sometimes we all get into spots where we forget our power. And this can be due to so many reasons. I talk about them all the time, but really, you know, this can be due to tragedy, loss, anything that comes up in our life, right? The programming that we've had from our families or our previous situations or issues, right? She had previous relationships that were pretty damaging to her self-confidence. And so, you know, there are all times when no matter how powerful we are, how extremely intelligent or smart, we get into these tough spots when we're vulnerable, when we don't take care of ourselves, when we have these societal or past patterns or things like that that we're repeating that aren't serving us, or that we've kind of created to try to manage our reality and try to protect ourselves, right? So that's why we act in those ways. And of course, to no fault of her own, but then it was time for her to seek that support because she was sick of feeling that way. Totally understandable, right? How often have you been in a relationship where you really felt the scale of power was imbalanced, and maybe this person wasn't really great, but it felt comfortable to you, or it felt, like this is maybe it for now. So that's kind of where she was at. So I want to walk you through the different steps of how I worked with her to help her through this and to kind of shine the light on her greatness. And so the first thing we did, the very first thing I do with all my clients is I identify with them. Okay, you've identified the issue, right? What is the big dream? What's the big dream and the big goal that you're trying to get to? We need to know where we're going, right? Creating the vision. We need to know where we're going so that we know how to get there, right? So for her, it was, I want to feel confident in myself. I want to have a healthy relationship. I don't want to have to feel like I'm, you know, at the mercy of somebody else, right? Because who wants to feel like that? That's shitty, right? Like, we don't want to feel like that. So they want to feel like she wanted to feel in control and confident, and that she didn't need to worry about someone if they didn't fit in her life, right? So that was the goal, right? Healthy relationships, confidence in herself. Great. Now the next step is to identify what are the roadblocks? What are those things that are holding you back? And we really talked about, you know, feeling that lack of confidence from those previous things that we've talked about, those previous incidents of life. And, you know, there was a pattern then that she had adapted due to trying to kind of protect herself, or feeling like this false sense of being in control, where she would always be checking her text messages, be checking to see if this person had corresponded with her, and really feeling like she had to do that, like it was compulsive. So the next thing, so we identified the patterns, right? We identified all the ways, all the old beliefs, all the things that were coming up to limiting her from making success and progress. The next step that we took is to really get to know herself and love herself. So not understanding ourselves is kind of half the battle of, being aware and learning how to overcome some of the issues or the things that we want to tweak a little bit, right? So knowing yourself, knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like, right? Knowing what you want, those are all so, so important to making positive changes in your life. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is really loving yourself. And I say that, and I think that's a kind of a general term that is thrown out a lot. But what I really mean by that is you are tapping into this higher version of yourself that I know is in there, because we all have that person inside of us. And again, it kind of gets lost sometimes due to all these different things. But, you're tapping into her and you are speaking to her. You are speaking love. You are speaking strength. You are speaking the goodness to yourself every single day, right? It's about the language that you're using. It's all the way down to the language that you're using with yourself. And she was really shocked to find that she was not speaking to herself in a way that was loving or helpful or supportive. And, she really was being very critical and very doubtful of herself. And so we really worked to kind of tweak some of that language. And so she began to kind of get that spirit and that energy of, yeah, I'm a badass, right? Like, I'm really smart. I've gone through school. I have this job. And, I don't believe that I deserve, even with or without those things, any ill treatment from somebody else, right? It was beginning to really rewrite that story. And the next step is really, understanding what kind of energy is at the table here. So she decided what she didn't want to feel, what energy she was allowing into her life, and she decided what energy she wanted to put out and what energy she wanted to attract in another person and a mate, right? Also thinking about what is our time and energy dedicated to. So if her time and energy was dedicated to just worrying about this person and constantly trying to contact them, right, that's not putting out a good, positive, strong energy. Who wants to spend their time doing that? You're chasing nobody, right? You're chasing somebody. You're not attracting them. You're not in that equal parts relationship, right? That wasn't what she wanted. She was really spending time and energy doing the things that she didn't want to do. So understanding that energy and how to tweak that into something that you want and how you can bring that into your life. And then the next part is that empowerment piece of giving herself the permission, right? The power, we talked about that, giving herself the power to own her greatness, to really decide, to put the work in, to know, okay, here's the barriers, right? Here's my goal. Here are the tweaks I'm going to have to make every single day to get there. So she gave herself that, right? Every single day. And the last piece of it was the relationship. So it, again, is identifying and really taking that intentional time to write down. I had to write down and envision, like, who was her ideal mate? And who was her ideal self in trying to find this ideal mate? What does that look like? And how is that different from right now? How is that the same? But what is the person that you're calling into your life? What are their characteristics? What are their attributes? What's their energy like? What's your relationship like? So really giving herself that time to sit and really work through that. I think that was so, so important. And I give this assignment to a lot of people, a lot of singles too, of like, how do we decide? How do we create that and bring that into our life? So that was so important. So we worked through all of those steps. And, she came back and she said, it was so, so cool because she was able to put it all into play. She said, okay, I had this guy, I was talking to this guy, and number one, I was able to recognize these old patterns coming back up, these red flags coming up, and instead of ignoring them, she then said, okay, I'm going to rewrite the story. She decided, right? Gave herself that power. She decided to rewrite the story and decided that she wanted this healthy relationship and what she wanted to do with her life. She tapped into her bravery and she took action, right? So this person was kind of like giving her some weird stuff, right? And so she acted. She said no and made the conscious choice to kind of remove them, right? Not allow them to have access to her energy and her time and her, right, emotions, all of those things. This is a fucking success. We celebrated this, right? This is huge, huge progress. So again, it's really interrupting this old story, this old narrative, this old pattern of behavior. It's getting rid of that and it's replacing it with what you want. And that that does take some work, right? That takes intentional work. And a lot of it comes from deciding and creating that vision and then going through these steps that I talked about, right? So with intentionality and stepping into your bravery, you can up level to that empowered woman that you want to be, that confident, that strong, right? That person that's living their life on their own terms. And I do all of this with legit called the Braver Life Coaching Program. And if this, if you're like, yes, this is me, this is what I need to be doing, because this can not only be applied to relationships, right? This can be applied to your employment. This can be applied to your health. This can be applied to anything, right? Your relationships, your friendships, right? And we're going to talk about relationships this month. I'm so excited in the month of April. We're going to really dig into that. Your relationship with money. I mean, we have relationships with everything. And so if you are curious about this, if you're wanting, hey Don, if you're wanting this change, this transformation for better for you, for your family, for your spouse, for your friends, whatever that is, for your workplace, this is your time. This is how you do it. It's those 6 steps, okay? So message me if you want to talk about this, if you want to know how this is a good fit for you. I'd love to have that conversation. So go ahead and send me a message. You can comment on here too if you have questions for me, but I hope you have a wonderful week. And I know this is going to be helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comments how it was. All right, bye. Have a good one.